Which will intersect in the center and adjust them loose tiles in both directions. Use the tile spacers to leave space for uniform joints. This will give you an idea of how the tile will end up at each end of the room. Having this information before you start laying the tile gives you an opportunity to shift the right, up, or down to make sure you don't end up with odd-looking slivers of tile at the most visible ends. After mocking up several layouts and considering the length of our 24-inch tile, we settled on a 1/3 offset, which means the first row will start with 8-inch tile length, the second row will be 16 inches long, and finally the third row will start with a full 24-inch tile. Step 2. Surface prep. Before you start, you'll want to remove any molding, trim, appliances, etc., which could interfere with the installation. A little extreme and remove the entire kitchen. Most tiles can be installed over most subfloors as long as they are clean, smooth, dry, and are free of wax, soap, scum, or grease. In our case, we're working with gypcrete subfloors. Because it's very brittle, it sustained some damage during our old tile removal. So to prep our surface, we started by painting on a waterproofing membrane to prevent the gypcrete from pulling moisture out of the mortar. Next, we installed the metal lathe, attempted to level the floor with mortar. Check out the process in the link below. Let's just say it could have gone a lot smoother. Step 3. Cutting tile. Carefully measure the tile to be cut and mark it with a pencil or a felt tip pen. In our case, the layout is very simple yet brilliant, because one cut tile will have both an 8-inch piece for row 1 and a 16-inch piece for row 2. This eliminates a lot of the tile waste and halves the number of cuts. We set up a jig on our tile saw for cutting our tile. For this basic pattern, a tile cutter would work just as well. If you're going to use a tile saw, make sure you select the correct blade for the type of tile you're installing. Step 4. Applying mortar. It's very important for the success of this project to research and apply the right mortar, the subfloor you have, and the size of the tile being installed. For the size of our 12 by 24 inch tile, we went with the VersaBond LFT Grade Fortified Medium Bed Mortar. LFT stands for Large Format Tile. Large Format Tile is any tile that has at least one side longer than 12 inches. Be sure to carefully read and follow all the instructions and precautions on the mortar bed. I would also highly recommend mixing only enough mortar to be used within 30 minutes. Any longer than that, and the mortar will start setting up and losing its strength properties. Just for reference, in the beginning, we started with about half a Home Depot bucket and worked our way up from there as we got faster. Another important tip is to always use the type of trowel recommended on the mortar pad. Spread a 1/4 inch coat on the surface of the install area using the flat side of the trowel. Next, use the notch side of the trowel to comb the mortar into standing ridges by holding the trowel at a 45-degree angle. Then remove excess mortar, leaving a uniform ridge setting bed. And remember, don't spread mortar on the area larger than you can set in 15 minutes. If it's your first time, take it one tile at a time till you get comfortable and increase your immediate work area. Step 5. Setting tile. Not sure if you noticed, but the variation of shades is an inherent characteristic of ceramic tile. So for a good blend effect, you should always mix the tile from several boxes as you set them. If your room size allows, try to get all your tiles from the same color lot. This information can be found on the side of the tile. If you're working with a large room, you can always custom order color lots if you're buying in pallet-sized quantities at your local big box store. Most of the time, you should begin installing tile in the corner of the room on the last reference line closest to the wall and work your way out from there. Do not ever use the room walls as the guide for laying tile. There's very little chance they are perfectly square. Insert tile spacers at each tile you set. We were using a lash tile leveling system. This was my first time using it, and as a beginner, I would not lay tile without it. If you need a demo on how the system works, check out the video in the description below. When you're setting tile one at a time, place them straight down on the mortar bed and use a slight twist and motion to get them into place. Under no circumstances slide the tiles into place, as this will collapse the ridges and give you tile an uneven effect. We found the following pattern of spacers to work best for keeping all the edges of this large tile level. You also want to fit the perimeter tile last and leave a 1/4 inch gap between the tile and the wall. Any rectangular porcelain tile over 12 inches should never be set in a running board pattern. Rather, no more than 1/3 overlap, like we're doing. The grout joints should also be widened to 3/16 inch, and you should use large format tile mortar for proper installation. The further along I got in the process, the less nerve-wracking it became. The project was coming along nicely, so I decided to clean up the area and grab a quick lunch. Anytime you're stepping away in the middle of laying tile, remember to clean up the excess mortar around the tiles. And if you're using a leveling system, set the spacers before you leave. Otherwise, the mortar may harden and you will not be able to easily set them later. Here's the most important takeaway as the first timer after completing this project. Always clean your joints as you set each tile. This is very important, so I will say it again. Always clean your joints as you set each tile. If you don't heed my warning, you will spend hours on your hands and knees removing dried up excess mortar from the joints with a little putty knife. The best way to keep the joints clean is to remove excess mortar with a trowel during installation and then use a damp sponge to wipe the top and the exposed sides of the tiles. Obviously, I did not do this for myself, but this is why you watch these videos, to learn from my mistakes. But I will shamelessly accept smashing the like button as a thank you. Generally, wait time for grouting joints is about 24 hours, but you should refer to the grout packaging for specifications. Carefully read and follow all the instructions and precautions, and only make enough to use in about 30 minutes. Spread grout onto the tile surface at a 45-degree angle, forcing it down into the joints with a rubber grout float. Remove excess grout from the surface immediately with the edge of the float at a 90-degree angle, scraping it diagonally across the tile. Wait 15 to 20 minutes for the grout to slightly set, and then use a damp sponge to clean the grout residue from the surface and to smooth the grout joints. Rinse the sponge frequently and change the water as needed. Keep in mind that the 15 minutes starts when the grout is first laid, so by the time you finish the room, it's possible that you can go back and start leveling the grout. As the grout dries, it will form haze on the tile surface. You may have to make several passes to clean up the haze with a slightly damp sponge and clean water if necessary. And finally, wait 72 hours for heavy use of your tile. Don't apply sealers or polishers for the first 3 weeks, and then only according to the manufacturer's recommendations.